What's up everyone? I'm Tim and this is my channel 40 Times Around, where we talk about everything related to motorcycles, camping, traveling, and adventure. And today we're going to talk about how and why to stretch your muscles before a long distance motorcycle ride. Stick around. Okay, so today we're talking about stretches you can do before a long motorcycle ride. But first, let's talk a little bit about why it's important to stretch. And not just before long rides, but just stretching for everyday life too. So for one, stretching will keep your muscles flexible and strong, which will help with your range of motion. So a quick story about riding with limited range of motion. I recently woke up with a knot in my neck. I guess I just slept on it weird. And for a few days, my neck would only turn like this much. So I ride every day. I commute to work on a motorcycle, so I didn't have the luxury of jumping in a car to get to work. I also check my blind spot before most lane changes. It's not always necessary for a safe lane change, but pretty often I just need to do a quick glance over my shoulder. Aside from the pain and discomfort that caused me, I would have to twist my whole torso just to see what I could normally see with a quick turn of my head. Now this takes a little extra time away from my focus on what's in front of me. But just as dangerous as that, if I wasn't careful, I could affect my steering, because moving my torso would move my hands and therefore the handlebars. Now, it was minor and I was able to adjust my riding style to suit this temporary setback, but this is just a small example of how shortened range of motion can negatively affect riding a motorcycle. This was a temporary issue that wouldn't necessarily have been avoided with stretching, but it's just an example of how it can affect you. A permanent injury from not stretching would be much more detrimental to riding. So stretching can prevent your muscles from literally shortening and becoming tight, which is what will cause the shorter than normal range of motion. This will also leave those shortened muscles weaker than normal, which is bad enough on its own, but can become much worse in an emergency situation where you may need those muscles to perform at peak levels to react to a traffic situation or a change in road conditions. We aren't even talking about strenuous movements either. Something as simple as a stiff neck can become dangerous in the wrong situation. Beyond that, weakened muscles will also lead to joint pain, possible pulled muscles, and even muscle damage. So this is important, and not just for riding, but in everyday life too. An example of why you would need to stretch before a long ride is that sitting in one position for an extended period of time can make your hamstrings tighten up. Those are the muscles right behind your thighs. In short term, this will get uncomfortable. It can make it hard to extend your legs and can give you what I call the John Wayne walk. I'm sure if you've put in any kind of miles, you're familiar with the cowboy walk. And sure, it can look cool, but it's not great for you in the long term. So here's the catch though. Stretching once before a ride won't fix the whole problem, and that's why I said this is good for everyday life too. It takes time and practice to have flexible muscles, and it's important to maintain that flexibility. So this will take some discipline. In fact, this is something I'm personally working on improving for myself. I'm trying to be better about stretching before rides and just in general to be in better physical shape. So anyways, that is some of the why of it. I found a lot of good info on this on the Mayo Clinic's website if you need more convincing. Let's just jump into the how of it all. So for starters, you should warm up a little before you stretch. I remember when I was in school in phys ed, we were taught that stretching was warming up. Turns out that's wrong. You want to get your blood flowing a little bit before stretching. This will make muscles looser and easier to stretch without harming them. This shouldn't be strenuous activity, as that in itself could pull something, but you should try to do a little walking around for 10 minutes, or if you're on a long trip, just wiping your bike down and getting all the bugs off. It just takes some light activity to get things warmed up, and then you'll be ready for some stretching. Another thing too is that you can actually do these stretches in full gear. You should have that range of motion in your jacket, for example. So you can do this throughout a long day of riding while at a gas station or a scenic overlook, just to keep things loose and well stretched. Just a couple pointers on stretching and some things to look out for. You should hold a stretch for about 30 seconds at a time and make sure not to bounce and move around a lot while stretching a muscle. Even though it might feel good, this can cause injury, so it's really bad. You also shouldn't feel any pain. If you do, back off of that stretch. And maybe consider consulting a doctor, because this could be a sign of an injury and you'll want to talk to your doctor to see what stretches you should and shouldn't be doing. This video is just generic stretches that might not be applicable to everyone. Now, it's also important to be thorough. Make sure you stretch all your muscles. Even if you don't think you use them on a motorcycle, it's important to stretch them, because riding a motorcycle may seem like a somewhat passive activity sometimes, but you're actually using a lot more of your body than you may think. You also want to try to stretch at least once a day, but it's recommended that you stretch multiple times throughout the day. I think at least once a day on a normal day, and several times a day if you're riding. Okay, so now I'm just going to show you a few of the basic stretches you can do before taking a long motorcycle ride. These are pretty basic and not anything earth-shattering or cutting edge. So this may just be a refresher for some of you, but it's important stuff, so I think it's worth going over. Okay, let's get started. So I personally like to start at the top and work my way down. There's no right or wrong order to do these in from what I can tell, but I think you should at least pick a direction to work in rather than just randomly stretching muscles all over your body in no particular order, because it would be easier to forget something that way. I just happen to start with my neck, but it doesn't matter. You'll most likely develop a routine for yourself over time. So this is a neck stretch. It's pretty basic. Just start by moving your head forward and to one side slightly. You'll feel it stretching the other side of your neck, and it actually feels really good. Pull your head down with your hand and hold this for about 30 seconds. Working our way down to the shoulders, this one is important because holding bars all day can actually really affect your shoulders, and specifically your rotator cuff. So this one, you're just gonna bring one arm across your torso like this, hold it in place with your other arm, and hold that for 30 seconds. Now just switch sides and do the same thing. Okay, here's another shoulder stretch that is really important, especially if you have ape hangers. This one is good for your rotator cuffs, which will help with overhead arm range of motion. You might need assistance from your motorcycle on this one. Just find a piece to grab that fits. The idea is to pull your arm behind your back and up like this. You should feel a slight stretch in the shoulder you're stretching. You might also be able to do this without any assistance too, by just putting your opposite arm over your back and pulling upwards with it. Hold for 30 seconds, switch sides and repeat. I like to do this one too. I'll just clasp my hands behind my back and stretch the front of my shoulders by tightening my two arms together and lifting my hands up. For my torso, I like to sit on the bike and twist my torso to one side. Hold for about 30 seconds, repeat on the other side. Now you can put one hand on the handlebars and one on the seat to apply pressure. I'll do a little back arching too, just to give my stomach a little stretch. You have these two long bands running along the outside of your hip and thigh. These bands of tissue can be stretched like this. Standing near your motorcycle for balance, cross your left leg over your right leg and extend your left arm above you and reach to the right side. You should feel this in your hip. Knees to chest is good for your lower back muscles, and this one looks like this. Lay on your back on a flat surface with your feet firmly planted flat on the ground. Pull up a knee and you should feel this stretching your lower back. Go as far as you can, hold for 30 seconds and repeat on the other side. You can do this with your other leg outstretched if you want, same effect. This one can be done while checking your oil sight glass. This will stretch your hip flexors, basically your upper thighs just below your hip bones. Just kneel on one knee, place your other foot in front of you, and place a hand on your hip to avoid twisting. And just keep your back straight and lean forward, shifting your weight to your front leg. You should feel this in your thigh. 30 seconds, switch legs and repeat. Working our way down to our quads, again, you'll need the bike for support on this one. This is for the front of your thighs. Definitely important to stretch before sitting on a bike all day. So just stand up straight, hold the bike for support. You can use a gas pump for this too. Grab your ankle and pull one leg up and towards you like this. You should feel the stretch in your front thigh. Make sure not to arch your back when you do this. You might need to tighten your stomach muscles to make sure you're actually stretching your quads. Next is your hamstrings, or the back side of your thighs. This one is very important if you spend a lot of time in the saddle. Use your bike and just find something at the correct height for this one. Maybe start with the foot pegs, work your way up to the highway pegs or crash bars over time. Who knows, maybe one day you'll be using the seat itself for this one. I'm not up to that yet though. Basically, raise one foot with both legs straight and lean slightly forward to feel a stretch in the back of the raised thigh. Hold for 30 seconds, switch and repeat. And finally, your calves and lower legs. This can be done by standing behind your motorcycle. Place your hands on the back of the bike and put one foot in front of the other. Bend your forward knee and keep the other leg straight. This should be bending your ankle as the angle of the straight leg gets sharper. You should feel this along the back side of your lower leg. And that's it. Those are some stretches you can do before a long motorcycle ride to help maximize comfort and help prevent injury or muscle damage. Like I said, it helps to practice these a lot and not just during long rides. But anything is better than nothing. Anyways, I hope you got something out of this video. If you did, make sure you hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell if you want to see more videos about motorcycles, camping, travel, and adventure. And that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.